Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome back to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. We also create comics. We are doing the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge, where you spend 30 minutes a day or more every day for 100 days straight working on your own personal comic book project. Where's mine? This one. This is mine. This is the current issue of my comic book, Young and the Dead. We're going to talk a little more about this, but what you got to know about it right now, if you're not already familiar, is that it's a kids versus zombie story. It's kind of like Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. If that appeals to you, it's available at Serkworks.com. This is issue 3. I'm currently working on issue 4, but there are 2 other issues in addition to this one available at Serkworks.com. You can check those out. We're going to get back to the comic book. But I want to talk about, or not necessarily talk about, but I want to just figure out where we are in the challenge. You can go ahead and just look at the description or the title card or whatever. But as I'm filming those haven't been created, so I got to figure out where I am just so I can keep track. So today we are at day 89. There we are. All right, so that's what we always do with the big fat Sharpie, the oversized pad of paper. We jot that down so I know where I am in the challenge, so I don't get confused or lost or whatever. Now, like I said, we're going to get back to the comic because I want to talk a little bit about branding your comic book. Now, say for instance the 2 major companies, Marvel and DC, their branding has changed a little bit for a while. Some things stay the same, some things change. I don't know. I just got on this kick of looking back, and I want to share with you some of my favorite branded comics, and we'll talk about what that is, because you can brand like an issue of a comic, or now most of us doing this, if we're lucky, we'll get 1 comic book done. We're not doing a whole, we're not doing a whole comic book company, so it doesn't really apply so much. But it is interesting to look at how things have changed along the way. For instance, I was just looking at, I want to pull out some of these DC comics. Now, when I was growing up, and for a while, this was the DC logo right here. Does that look familiar to you guys? All right, so that's kind of what I knew growing up. This little shield with the little stars on it with DC, and then they eventually kind of changed to this look. Can you see that there? So I actually like that. I like that logo a lot. And when they first started, some of the first movies, like I think when they first started branding, I don't know if they actually branded their movies under DC when they first did, like Batman Begins, but eventually they started branding like the Batman movies like this. But then all of a sudden, this didn't stick around for very long, this particular logo, before they switched to this one. This little DC, it looks like a little page turn. Now, looking at this from a graphic design perspective, this is a very cool logo. I like the way the D pulls back and reveals the C like a page turn, like I said. But I don't know, it doesn't say comic. It's not very exciting. It would have made a really cool kind of corporate logo. So when I first saw that, I was kind of like, But of course, these are just personal opinions. But then I've got, I don't know if this is one of the later DC comics that I have. Now, I don't know if they changed their logo again, and I don't know if it's just because this is part of the DC Hanna-Barbera brand, if it's like that, if they're going for more of a kind of a retro look, or if they're still using this particular one. But DC seems to be changing their look quite a bit. Now, I'm going to go back to Marvel. I've got some old Marvel comics here. Now, when I was growing up, this is how I knew Marvel as, with the big Marvel Comics Group banner, and they got the price and the number up here, and then they always had this little square thing here, and it would have like the main character in it, or a team. If it's a team, it would show some of the main characters in the team, and I always liked that because it would always kind of give me a hint if you're reading a team book, which particular characters were kind of going to get a star in that book. But that was so, when I was growing up, I mean, that was sort of the thing. And to the point where when I was a kid, whenever I drew comics, I just ripped that off. And a lot of other people did. A lot of other people would do these little boxes and put their own company name on it, or doing something very similar. So that worked for a while, and then Marvel kind of got away from it, and I can kind of see why maybe, but I always thought that was fun, and I totally ripped that off when I was a kid. And I think I found this is kind of funny. I think even DC from time to time maybe rips this off, because look at that. You've got the logo, and then you've got the little character up there. But that's cool, and of course it's in a circle, so it's a little different, but I don't know, it's fun. It's fun to kind of look at all that stuff. But like I said, I do want to share with you some really cool branded comics. Now these, you know, this is an Image comic here. Now, like I said, with Image, I don't think they're as particular about an overarching brand. I mean, as far as, you know, the Image logo and everything. So sometimes it's really small, sometimes in the corner, sometimes. And when they first started off, I think it was more uniform. But this is a book I really like. I love the way this comic is branded. It's called Paper Girls. Now, if you look at this, look at the covers on this. See how there's a theme going through there? And it's very different. It pops right off the shelf. And I love this because it also takes place in the 80s, and it's about a bunch of paper girls, and they deal with aliens and things, and I'm way behind on it. I stopped collecting. I skipped an issue and I couldn't find it, and after that I stopped collecting. So somehow I gotta find that issue and go back and start reading this again, because it was super fun. But it also, and you know, continuity is a great thing, especially when you're dealing with branding and everything. So look, it's kind of got the wraparound covers, you've got, you know, then you've got the price and everything on the back. Now mine, I'll show you mine in a minute, and I kind of went with this format too. This book wasn't out when I started mine, so it's not like I'm ripping this off or anything, but the same thing here. You know, they've all got, you know, this particular stark kind of monotone colors. You got the real kind of almost like neon, all wraparound covers. And for each issue, they go with a different color. But man, and you know, here's another one. But that, I mean, I just think that's awesome, and that's one of the things I really like when thinking about, you know, how to brand your comics. This is another one that this just blew. This is an independent comic. You may not have heard of this. But I'm trying to remember what it says Jay Gonzo. I forgot what his full name is. But look at this book. This kind of, it's got a few different looks to it. It's sort of a luchador kind of superhero, but look at the colors, and he uses the same colors throughout. He just kind of switches them up a little bit. But man, it's kind of almost got a little Gold Key look to it, but it's different than Gold Key, and it's very, you know, this thing, as soon as I saw this at a convention, and I'm like, I need this now. So I just picked up every copy he had. So, and then again on the back, very similar. It's kind of got the square in there. So think about that when you're doing your comic. And like I said, I know a lot of us are, you know, we'll be lucky if we get one book out. But really think about how you want to format, how you want to separate yourself, how you want this to pop off the shelf. So before we go here, I wanted to show you my book. Now, with my book, I decided I didn't want to have any kind of company like branding or anything, because really, you know, what Serkworks Comics or whatever I decide to call this, no one's going to know what that is. It's not that important, okay? So I just went with the basic logo, the tagline, and then the author, you know, on the bottom here. But so I decided to bring everything to the back, and like what I did, if you can see here, is I went with a different color. I've got my little logo mascot. I made him sort of a zombie walking, and then I've got the information here on the back, and it's that way throughout. So I wanted to keep this going, even though really the funny thing is this logo for the company, for Serkworks, I'm not using this logo anymore. But as I continue to put these issues out, I'm going to continue with this because that's what I started with, and that's what I kind of want to continue. Even the branding here, or the tagline where it says building comics with character, the old, you know, before it was Serkworks building illustration and design with character. I've kind of changed that to the science of geekology now. now because I've moved away and now we're doing the whole mad scientist thing. But before we did that, we concentrated more on character design. So I kept with that, and I'm going to keep that. The only thing I changed here, I think, was the price. So if you got an older version, it might say $4, but then I've kind of just inflation, folks. I had to boost it up to $5. Plus, it's easier to convention because it's like people have a $5 bill or whatever instead of $4. So anyway, so those are some things I want to think about as far as branding your comics. So what are your ideas on branding? You got any clever things that you like to do when you put your book out? What are you thinking? Let me know in the comments section. But man, this was a long intro, so we gotta get to the actual comic book making. So we're gonna go up here to the paralleloscope and check that out. It's going to be another quick drawing segment for today. I'd still putting in the 30 minutes a day, but speeding it up a little bit, cutting just the video off a little short because I went way long in the intro. When I start talking about comics and branding and stuff, I get carried away and it tends to go on. But hopefully that was some good information for you guys. But yeah, so back on, still continuing on with page 7, and this is a kind of a cool scene where the zombies are basically trying to open that door. They're getting some leverage and opening that what do you call it? The elevator door, the service elevator door. So we'll see what happens when they kind of break through. But I've been out doing this kind of road trip thing this weekend and having a lot of fun. We went through Parker, Arizona and took that dirt road off to that really cool desert bar. That was awesome. And then we went on to Lake Havasu, saw the London Bridge, hung out in Lake Havasu for the day, and now we're kind of driving back and through Parker, and we're stopping at this, it's like this pirate bar, and it's pretty cool. It's like this little sort of pirate village all over by it's on the Colorado River, so there's, boats and stuff, kind of a cool view. But yeah, this has been really fun. I'm gonna miss it, but you got to get back Monday and start the work week again. All right, we are back, and this is day 89. We're done with the 80s, folks. It's kind of funny because my book takes place in the 80s. So we're going to say goodbye to day 89. I will see you guys tomorrow for day 90. Only 10 more to go. Can you believe that? I'll see you then. That is all. Hey everyone, you've seen the process. Now you can check out the story. Issues 1 through 3 of Young and the Dead are available at my website at serkworks.com. Also follow me on social media at the links listed below. Subscribe and check out some of the other videos in this series. There's much more to come.